Happy Halloween! It is October 31st, and you are speaking to the Meeples Champion. And here on All Hallows Eve, we are going to discuss a game that I literally bought this month, decided that this was definitely the game I wanted for Halloween night, and only just played 3 days ago. This game is perfect for me. It is the theme, the feel, the darkness, the scare of what a Halloween themed game should be. This was such an exciting play for me. I was pumped to get it to the table for the first time ever, and I am so excited to introduce to you on Halloween night. That game is Nemesis. Now, for those of you who watched yesterday, you may have noticed I did the Alien RPG game. And this may be something that you go, really? Back-to-back aliens? First of all, technically speaking, it's not Alien. It is, but it isn't. It is just different enough that it is not able to be sued for clearly just being an Alien board game. However, they are totally different games. And while I was excited to bring that one in because I think, for me, when I think of Halloween, yes, we think of our classics, your werewolves, your vampires, your zombies. We think of our more modern classics, your Jasons and your Freddy Kruegers and all that. But there's also the Alien aspect to it. And for me, the Aliens franchise is the franchise. It scares you. It has scared you in multiple decades, different generations. It's a franchise that horrifies you in a way that it deserves to be considered. And while that one allows you more of the creative type, this one lets you feel like you are right in the movie. And for that, this had to be my number one. We, playing the other night, had a 4-player game. Now, the concept of the game is that everybody wakes up in their stasis pod. However, as a result of the stasis pod, you basically have stasis pod amnesia. So you have a bunch of rooms that are marked as 1. You shuffle all those up. And then you have a bunch of rooms marked as 2. You shuffle all those up. You're going to use all the 1s, but only so many of the 2s. You mix together the random 2s you got with all your 1s. You place them out face down. And then you take other little pieces and you put them face down and shuffle them and put them on top of these. As you move through, you're going to be given 2 objectives. One is a corporate objective and one is a personal. Now, until the first alien hits the ship, you do not have to choose which objective you're going to keep. So you could be working towards them both. But the idea is that eventually you're going to have a pull. It's going to cause an alien to emerge. It's going to show on the ship. And the instant it does, your characters at that point have to make a decision. Now, they don't have to reveal to anybody else what they've decided. All they have to do is pick the card they're keeping and discard the other face down. And now that's the way you win. You had 2 options. Now you're down to 1. When that alien shows up, shit hits the fan. So, in our game, it was hilarious because I was first player, and I literally left the room, went into the next room, flipped it over, immediately the door shut and locked behind me. And I could have, because I was in the correct room, just opened the door. I made the decision, well, I would rather go and grab an item because there's so many items in the rooms. So I used my card that allowed me to grab an item. When you do this, you basically have it set up where it randomly will tell you when you flip these things what it does. Like our random thing said, shut the door. But it also said the room has 2 items in it. So the room has a 2 on it, and you put that 2 on the item counter spot. Then when you decide to use something to draw, you will draw 2 cards from the color type room you're in, pick one to keep and discard the other, and then decrease the room by turning it to go to a lower number. Once that item counter hits 0, the room no longer has items, and the only exception to that is I believe there's a supply closet, and that's where you can have basically endless amounts of stuff, which makes sense. So I got locked in, I grabbed my item, my friend goes into another room, same thing happens. The other two friends say, well, we'll blow up his door and go that way. So they all join him and they just keep going together as a group. So now we're going through, and as we're making these decisions, every time that you enter a room, if nobody else is there, you have to roll a die. The die has the opportunity for an attack, and it also has the opportunity for nothing, meaning either you're pulling from the bag to see what happens, to see if you pull one of the alien tokens and which one. You have smalls, mediums, larges, and the queen. Or you are placing down a sound. So if you place down a sound, the sound is you rolled a number and you put that sound token in that category. So if you're in a room, you'll have the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. Sometimes it's only 2 ways to go. It'll be the 1 and the 2 share this hallway, and the 3 and the 4 share this one. So you make a sound, you put it there. If there's no other sound in that hallway already, you just put the sound. But if there is, you've now drawn a second sound, meaning now the alien has honed in on you and you have to draw from the bag. So you do this. If you end up drawing the alien, it comes into the room. You then have to figure out, well, flip a card for it. Based on the amount of cards you start, which was this 5, you'll see however many cards you have left and see what the number is on his. And if it's the same or more, you're fine. But if it's not, he gets an attack. And then from there, whenever it's your turn, you can attack him all you want. But when your turn ends, he gets to attack you as well. So you basically are just fighting it out, trying to kill the aliens. You're trying to make sure that there are 3 engines, at least 2 of them are running. You're trying to make sure that you have the correct destination set. So you have to look up and see, okay, well, what of the 4 locations is the one we're supposed to go to? And are we set to go there? You have to do a whole bunch of things and then get the ship there. Now, you have 15 rounds to do this. And during this, obviously, if you all die, it's over. Or if you have 8 different rooms get lit on fire at the same time, the ship blows up. There are other things that can happen. There's a way for the self-destruction to go off. There's a bunch of things that can happen on this ship. In our game, I only made it about an hour in before I stupidly decided to throw a grenade, got myself majorly injured, and an alien followed me into another room and killed me. Then another friend ended up getting caught in between fire and an alien. He died. 2 more people managed to almost get to the end, and one of them died. And then the last person managed to survive and complete his objective, and he won the game. So even though it's a co-op, it's not really a co-op. Because one thing is that those objectives allows you so much opportunity. You can betray people off the bat. My objectives, I had 2. I could have gone corporate, which said I could win the game so long as player 1 died. Except I was player 1, which it specifically stated, if you're player 1, you win the game if you're the only one to survive. Felt like a tough one to go for, so I chose not to do that. When I had to decide, I went with the other one, which said, in order to win, every single room had to have been found. So basically, whenever somebody enters a room, it flips up, we all know about that room now. So I had to make sure I want to say there were 20 rooms, all of them had to be found. And I had to be the one to send the signal, which I believe that had to be going up to the cockpit and making sure that we send the signal that we're going to this location. So I chose that one without having any clue about the signal and saying, like, there's a lot of rooms. But by the time we had to choose when the first alien came out, like 11 rooms had already been flipped. So I was like, well, I'm more than halfway on the room flips. So I guess I might as well do this. Because what are the odds that all 3 of them are going to die and I'll live? Well, 3 people did die. And if I had not been stupid enough to fight the alien, maybe I could have been the winner. But that's what I did. Other people had different types of objectives. Not every time the corporate's not always going to make you have to make sure somebody else dies. So corporate's not necessarily evil, nor are personal reasons always going to be good. So you might find you're working as a team, or you might find that it doesn't matter, or you might find that you specifically are not working with one or more of your opponents. It's such a fun game. Why don't we jump right into this and really discuss our 7 categories? The art is fabulous in this game. The box, the cards, the board, the individual, hexes you put down, the pieces you're using. This game's art envelops you. It is one of the biggest thumbs up I've ever given. Huge thumbs up. The components are 100% top notch. You're talking about so many minis. You know, your queen is like this big. Your bigger aliens are like this big. You have like, I think we have at least 4, maybe 8 of the large ones. Then you get a bunch of your medium ones. You get a bunch of your larvae. Not to mention your cards. So many different cards, really good quality. They put it. Everything here is good quality. I feel like there's nothing here that would be considered to be good enough. Everything's top of the line. It is a huge thumbs up. The price is not cheap. This game goes for right around that $70 to $80 range. It's a big, heavy game. It's got to be about 8 pounds. And it is definitely one that is not for every single person. I just so happened to do a little splurging for this month. I wanted to have a couple games that I've wanted in my collection for a long time and that fit this theme. So I splurged to make sure I had them for this. But normally, it's not one I would have just gone and splurged on. But I do think that for what you're getting in this box, it's worth every penny. Is this something I recommend everybody should get? No. But if you are interested in the theme, if you're interested in the play style, I think that it's worth its money. I will give it a thumbs up. The difficulty isn't that bad. There's a lot going on. And there is a big setup and pack down to this game. I want to say it took us like 20 to 30 minutes to set up. And it was like at least a 15-minute, pack up at the end. So there's a lot of time for that. But when it comes to the actual playing, it's a lot of tough decisions. But I never felt like I was confused. It was just a lot of risk. It's not risk like when you're playing games with dice, where you're constantly having to like hope for certain rolls and like it's all random. It was more the idea of, like, for instance, when you enter a room, you have to roll and you might make a sound. But you can mitigate that by, instead of spending 1 card to move, you spend 2 and you can choose where the sound shows up. So if you're going into a room that has, 3 hallways and 2 of them already have a sound, you can spend 2 cards, mitigate that luck, and just make the 3rd sound over in that 3rd hallway, saving you from the situation. At one point, I got attacked by the queen, and it was because I was considering to use 2. And I said, there's only 1 hallway with the sound. I think I'll be okay. And I wasn't. I made the mistake to take the random luck instead of guaranteeing myself. It was a bad decision. So this game is not too difficult. There's a lot going on, and it's a lot of like decision making can hurt you. But I think that it is a fun game that experts will love, experienced will love, beginners can enjoy. And if you have a kid who's 10 plus that is interested in this theme, they can play. They'll probably die, but they'll enjoy it. It's a thumbs up. Replayability is definitely not in the same night. We took, for our first game, between setup, play, pack down, about 3 to 3.5 hours of play. Now, I got knocked out about the 1.5-hour mark. Somebody else got knocked out at probably about the 2.5-hour mark. Somebody else got knocked out at probably about the 2:45, 3-hour mark, and then somebody else won like 5 minutes later. So that elimination kind of makes it hard for replay. Like, I would have liked another replay of it when I got knocked out, but by the time that the game finished, I didn't want to replay it. It had been another 2 hours and I was ready to go. So I don't think this is a same night type of game. This could be played in, the same week or month, definitely multiple times in a year. And this is not constrained only to Halloween and to October. This game can be played year round. It's just a game that I think fits this month very well. So I'm going to give it the thumbs up because the replayability hits for certain times a year. The keys to victory are, it all depends on your cards. And you have multiple options. So yes, we could be unlucky and an alien could get pulled really quickly. But even then, you still have the option between which way you want to go. And when you do that, you're still going to have, are you going for speed? Are you just trying to go check engines? Are you going to try to get more item cards? Are you staying with somebody else? Because you get an advantage in this game If you walk into a room that another player's already in, you don't make a sound because there's already somebody in there. So, I was making lots of sounds because I was by myself down in the bottom of the ship. But the other three were together for a while, so they were making way fewer sounds because one would enter a room and then the other two would follow him and not make sound there. So I definitely think that there's keys to victory here. There's lots of options and nothing's guaranteed. They were making less sound because of what they were doing, but they still drew a bunch of alien attacks. And I drew alien attacks and I was making way more sound and taking way more risk. Had I been more aware of the fact that I was by myself, I shouldn't be doing that, I would have been safer. So I'm going to give it the thumbs up. Is this game unique? This game is one of the most unique games I've ever played. I am not a co-op fan, not even a semi-co-op fan. It's not my style. Earlier this month, I talked about Betrayal, House on the Hill, and this kind of feels like a similar style game as far as that idea of like, we're kind of a team, but can we trust each other? Except this one doesn't have the halfway through, we flip stuff, we decide it, and we're announced who the bad guy is, or if we're working as a team or not. This one is, you all have your different possible choices, and you simply get to eliminate one when the alien shows up, which could be on turn 1 or it could be on turn 6 or 7. So for me, I think this game stands leaps and bounds away from that one. And there's so much going on in this game, and there's so many different ways to try to be messing with the ship, with each other, travel, talk. To me, this is such a unique game. There's nothing that's going to be like this on my shelf ever that I can think of. Thumbs up. Overall, what do I think of this game? This is one of my favorite big money buys I've ever made. It is a game that I bought and got to the table in under 10 days, which is a rarity because my friends all wanted to play it. This is a game that if you were to come out and say to me, should we invest the money or the time? I would say 100% invest your time. 100%, if you really want to play this, it's worth your money. Be aware of who you are, who your game group is, all of that kind of stuff if you're going to be spending this kind of money. But if this hits for you, just spend the money. It's worth it. But that's just my opinion. It's up to you guys to get out there, play your games, and see if this is a game that's going to hit for you and your group. Well, it has been day 113, and we've been speaking about the game Nemesis. And you've been speaking to, on Halloween night, the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding in an Amazon link so that you can pick up Nemesis for yourself. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow, and have a happy Halloween.